Chapter 2. Aswad al-Ansi, the sorcerer of Yemen. Night falls over the mountains of Yemen. Torches flicker against ancient stone walls. Caravans wind through narrow valleys. The air is thick with uncertainty. The year is 632 CE. Across Arabia, a new religious order is taking shape. But in the south, far from Medina, another figure is rising. A man whose reputation would become wrapped in mystery, fear, and legend. His name was Aswad al-Ansi. To his followers, he was a prophet. To his enemies, he was an impostor. And to many who encountered him, he seemed almost supernatural. Yemen occupied a unique place in Arabia. Unlike many tribal regions, it possessed ancient cities, agricultural wealth, and long-established political traditions. For centuries, foreign powers had competed for influence there. Persians, Abyssinians, local kings. By the early 7th century, Yemen was experiencing major political change. Such moments often create opportunities for ambitious leaders. Aswad al-Ansi recognized that opportunity. Historical sources describe him as charismatic, intelligent, and remarkably persuasive. He reportedly possessed skills that impressed large audiences. Some accounts accuse him of using tricks, illusions, and dramatic performances. Others describe him as a gifted speaker, capable of inspiring devotion. Whatever the truth, one fact is clear. People listened, and increasing numbers believed him. The man who would become known as Aswad al-Ansi began presenting himself as a recipient of divine revelation. He claimed heavenly guidance. He claimed special authority. He claimed a mission greater than that of ordinary rulers. His message spread quickly. Villages joined him. Tribal leaders pledged support. Warriors rallied to his banner. Within a short period, what began as a personal claim evolved into a political movement, and then into a rebellion. Narrator. History repeatedly demonstrates that prophetic movements rarely succeed through theology alone. They succeed when religious claims intersect with social realities. People seek stability. People seek identity. People seek leadership. When existing institutions appear weak, alternatives become attractive. For many Yemenis, Aswad appeared to offer precisely that. A powerful local leader, a defender of regional interests, a man capable of challenging distant authority. His movement gained momentum. His followers multiplied. And soon he set his sights on something larger. Control. City after city fell under his influence. Officials loyal to Medina were displaced. Power shifted rapidly. The rebellion expanded. For a brief period, Aswad controlled vast portions of Yemen. The speed of his rise shocked observers. Only months earlier, he had been one among many tribal leaders. Now he commanded armies, governed territory, collected allegiance, and declared himself a prophet. Fear accompanied his expansion. Stories spread across the region. Stories of visions. Stories of miracles. Stories of mysterious signs. Some believed them completely. Others remained skeptical. Yet regardless of whether such stories were true, they served a purpose. They enhanced his image. They strengthened his authority. And they increased the loyalty of his followers. Narrator. Throughout history, successful leaders have understood something important. Power often depends not only on military strength, it depends on perception. If people believe a leader possesses extraordinary authority, that belief itself becomes a source of power. Aswad understood perception, and he used it effectively. For a time, it appeared unstoppable, but history can change suddenly, and Aswad's downfall would come from the place he least expected, inside his own circle. Opposition to Aswad continued growing. Secret alliances formed. Messages traveled quietly between dissatisfied leaders. Plans were made. Risks were taken. The conspirators knew failure meant death. Yet they also knew time was running out. If Aswad consolidated his rule completely, removing him would become nearly impossible. Action had to come quickly. One night, the plan was set in motion. Under cover of darkness, conspirators entered his residence. The details vary across historical accounts, but the outcome does not. Aswad al-Ansi was killed. The man who had conquered much of Yemen in mere months was gone. His movement rapidly collapsed. His followers scattered. His authority vanished almost overnight. Narrator. The rise and fall of Aswad al-Ansi serves as one of history's most dramatic examples of how quickly charismatic movements can emerge and how quickly they can disappear. Yet Arabia's age of prophetic claimants was far from over. Even as Aswad's movement crumbled in Yemen, another challenger was preparing to enter the stage. A warrior, a tribal chief, a veteran of battle, a man whose story would take a very different path. His name was Tulayha ibn Khuwaylid, and unlike many prophetic claimants, his story would not end in rebellion. It would end in redemption. Fade to black. Chapter 3. Tulayha ibn Khuwaylid. The warrior who changed his destiny. The desert sun rises over northern Arabia. Warriors gather around tribal banners. Horses stamp the earth. Spears glitter beneath the morning light. This is a world where strength commands respect, and few men possessed more strength than Tulayha ibn Khuwaylid. Narrator. Before his prophetic claim, Tulayha was already famous. He belonged to the powerful Banu Asad tribe. He was respected as a warrior, admired for courage, known for leadership. In a society where military skill often determined status, Tulayha had earned considerable influence. People followed him because they trusted him, because they respected him, because he had proven himself. Then he made an extraordinary claim. He declared that revelation had come to him, that he had received divine communication, that he possessed prophetic authority. For some, the claim seemed plausible. For others, unacceptable. Yet, regardless of opinion, attention followed. And where attention goes, followers often follow. Tulayha's movement grew rapidly. Neighboring tribes joined him. Political alliances strengthened him. His reputation as a warrior added credibility. He was not an unknown preacher. He was already a respected leader. That distinction mattered. Many prophetic movements begin with individuals who possess existing influence. Tulayha fit that pattern perfectly. Soon, his challenge extended beyond theology. Like Musaylima and Aswad before him, Tulayha's movement became intertwined with political resistance. Authority was contested, loyalties shifted, conflict approached, and the young Muslim state prepared to respond. Narrator: the Ridda Wars represented one of the greatest crises in early Islamic history. Several tribes withdrew support from Medina. Others followed alternative leaders. The unity established during the Prophet Muhammad's lifetime seemed in danger. For Caliph Abu Bakr, preserving that unity became essential. Military campaigns were launched across Arabia. Among the most significant targets stood Tulayha. The confrontation came at Buzaka. Warriors gathered. Armies formed. Battle began. Historical accounts describe intense fighting. Tulayha reportedly attempted to inspire confidence among his followers by claiming access to divine guidance during the battle itself. But events did not unfold as he hoped. The tide turned. His forces suffered setbacks. Momentum shifted toward the Muslim army. Defeat became increasingly likely. And eventually, Tulayha fled. For many leaders, defeat marks the end of the story. For Tulayha, it marked the beginning of a new chapter. Years passed. Circumstances changed. And Tulayha made a decision few expected. He renounced his prophetic claim. He accepted Islam. And according to historical sources, he later fought alongside Muslim forces in major campaigns. Narrator: history rarely fits simple categories. Heroes become villains. Villains become heroes. People change. Beliefs evolve. Choices alter destinies. Tulayha's story stands apart because it includes transformation. Unlike many claimants, he abandoned his earlier claims and became known for military service in later years. His legacy remains complex. Yet his life reminds us that human beings are capable of dramatic change. Still, not every prophetic claimant in Arabia was a warrior. One was a poet, one was a strategist, and one became one of the most unusual figures of the entire Ridda era. Her name was Sajah, and she would become one of the few female prophetic claimants recorded in Arabian history. Fade to black. Chapter 4. Sajah bint al-Harith. The prophetess of the camera moves across the Arabian desert. The sound of wind fills the silence. Then a woman's voice reciting poetry, strong, confident, commanding. The voice belongs to Sajah bint al-Harith, a woman whose story continues to fascinate historians more than 13 centuries later. Narrator: the Arabia of the 7th century was overwhelmingly dominated by male tribal leadership, warriors, chiefs, military commanders. Yet amidst this world emerged a woman capable of attracting followers, forging alliances, and competing in the political struggles of her age. Sajah was not an ordinary figure. She came from a respected tribal background. Historical sources describe her as intelligent, eloquent, and influential. Her talent for speech distinguished her. Words mattered deeply in Arabian society. Poetry carried power. Oratory shaped reputations. Persuasive language could inspire entire tribes. Sajah understood that power, and she used it effectively. At some point during the turbulent period following the Prophet Muhammad's death, Sajah announced a remarkable claim. She declared herself a prophetess. The claim immediately attracted attention. Supporters gathered, alliances formed, and her influence began expanding. Narrator: why did people follow Sajah? The answer reveals much about human behavior. Followers are rarely motivated by only one factor. Religious conviction may play a role. Political interests may play a role. Tribal loyalty may play a role. Economic considerations may play a role. Most movements emerge from a combination of forces rather than a single cause. Sajah's movement appears to have reflected that reality. She offered leadership during uncertainty, direction during instability, identity during a period of dramatic change. Many found those qualities attractive. As her influence increased, she assembled a substantial following. Some reports suggest she initially contemplated military action. Others emphasize negotiation and alliance building. Regardless of the precise details, one fact stands out. She became an important political player during one of Arabia's most turbulent periods. And soon, she encountered another famous claimant, Musaylima. The meeting between Sajah and Musaylima has become one of the most discussed episodes of the Ridda period. Historical narratives differ on many details, yet most agree that some form of alliance emerged between them. What motivated that alliance remains debated. Political strategy, mutual interest, pragmatism, perhaps all three. Whatever the reasons, the partnership altered the balance of power, at least temporarily. Narrator: history often surprises us. Movements that appear unstoppable vanish suddenly. Leaders who seem destined for greatness disappear into obscurity. The prophetic claimants of Arabia experienced both realities. As Muslim forces achieved victory across the peninsula, alternative movements weakened. One by one, they declined. Sajah's movement eventually dissolved, and according to many historical accounts, she later accepted Islam. Unlike Musaylima, she was not killed in battle. Unlike Aswad, she was not overthrown by conspirators. Unlike many others, she simply faded from the center of events. Yet her significance remains undeniable. She stands as one of the most remarkable women in early Arabian history. A poet, a leader, a strategist, and one of the few female prophetic claimants ever to command widespread attention. Transition. The sands of Arabia fade into darkness. Centuries pass. Empires rise and collapse. The world changes, yet prophetic claimants do not disappear. They evolve. Now the story moves beyond Arabia, beyond the 7th century, into medieval Persia, a land of scholars, mystics, and revolutionaries. There, a new movement would emerge, a movement built upon hidden meanings, mystical symbols, and radical interpretations of faith. Its founder was a man named Fazlullah Astarabadi, and his ideas would influence generations long after his death.